As you can see, we are not in the kitchen of FSA headquarters this week. We are in Freddy Krueger's basement. You can see everything around me. In all honesty, we're actually in my mother's basement, which from a fantasy football standpoint probably doesn't make it any better that we're down here in the basement. But we do get the best lighting in the house down here, so I figured I would do the show from here this week. Welcome to week 2 of FSA updates. I want to start the show by thanking Shelby and Ryan McNeil for allowing us to come to their wedding this week and getting to see them in Missouri. That was super awesome. I know those two are not watching the show tonight. They are in Vegas right now enjoying themselves in their honeymoon. We hope that they are having a good time. Last week I said that we were going to get away from doing show or talk about the NFL as much, and we started off the show last week with injuries around the NFL. Well, guess what? We're doing it again this week because of all of the big names that made it into injuries this week. So, of course, Adrian Peterson ended up tearing his meniscus in his knee. Originally thought it wasn't going to be that big of a time loss. Now he's saying he's going to have surgery on that knee, so he could be out for the majority of the fantasy season. Could be back in time for the Vikings to be able to go to the playoffs if they win enough games for the playoffs. You have quarterback down and now running back down, so it's not looking real good for the Vikings. Danny Woodhead goes down for the San Diego Chargers. He is now on the IR and will be definitely out for the rest of the year with a torn ACL. Amir Abdullah had a little bit of pain in his foot, and apparently it was worse than everybody thought it was. He went on the IR today. Doug Martin's going to miss 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. Colts wide receiver Dante Moncrief is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured shoulder blade. Bears quarterback Jay Cutler is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks with an injured thumb. And then the rookie wide receiver Coleman from the Browns just got announced earlier, about an hour ago before we started the show, that he broke his hand at practice today. So not looking good for the Browns on all fronts. Margin of victory wins this week. Out of the North region, today was a good day. Had a plus 55, which was the highest margin of victory for the week, with a 140 to 85 win over the Schadenfreude. One of these weeks I'm going to get that right for you, Jolie. So in the Great Lakes region, Diablos over the McCrackens by a plus 18 for 116 to 97. In the South region, the Smilodons over the Falconian Assault, 114 to 71 for a plus 43. And in the Southwest region, the Nightbreed over the Flying Hawaiians with a 142 to 93 for a plus 49. In the NFL this week, no real big surprises in the win-loss columns. A couple of shockers, maybe. Rams getting win in their first game in LA since 1994 with a 9-3 win over Seattle. And the Vikings take down Green Bay on Sunday night, 17-14. So that's a pretty big deal on Ryan's wedding night, of all things, with him being a Packers fan. Power rankings for this week. So the graphical representation of the top 4 was released yesterday. The Excel spreadsheet that was put up on our website was released on Tuesday afternoon. So Hip Hop Anonymous, who were number 2 in the power rankings last week, moved up to number 1 this week, and they were joined by 3 other teams: the Machine from the South region, the Cubs from the Great Lakes, and the Ginger Snaps from the North. Yeah, Jason, I did see that arrest warrant issued for Josh Gordon for paternity issues here in the state of Ohio, so the hits just keep happening for that kid too. Ginger Snaps, like I just mentioned, are in the top 4 of the power rankings. We're number 7 last week, number 1 in all of their region, and they were the ones that complained that they had one of the worst drafts, and we agree, in probably all of FSA history, and now they're sitting this good all the way around. And I think they're hoping that if this season continues for them the way that it is, that they'll have this kind of a crappy draft every year. Surprises in the FSA standings right now, just straight wins and losses. The already mentioned Ginger Snaps are leading the region 2-0. In the Great Lakes, the Cubs, who are also number 3 in our power rankings, are 2-0. Our last year's Rookie of the Year, Ty Rowland in the Great Lakes, is 0-2. And all of the rest of the teams in the Great Lakes are 1-1. So it's going to be really tight for them in the next coming weeks. In the South, back-to-back bowl champions, the Hookers, are now 0-2. No, not a good start for her. And in the Southwest, the Recast and the Boats and Hoes are kind of running away right now as the only 2 teams that are 2-0 in that region. And the rest of us in the Scorpions region are just trying to chase them down. Jason says Cubs are going down this week. You must play them in week 3. So Jason mentioned a very good point that we are going to start inter-division play this week. but because we have an odd number of teams inside the divisions, only 4 of the teams will be playing interdivision. There'll be 1 that will be playing across division, and it'll be like that anytime we have an interdivision week. So speaking of the recast, we would not have a successful season if it wasn't for our partnerships with them and the Pigskin Addiction. Right now, their combined season total for the 4 teams that fall under there are 5-3 now, so they're on the up and up, and they have a win percentage between all of them. In addition to our advertising partners, we definitely cannot forget the title sponsor, the Stat Bowl, which is StompTherapy.com, and Dr. Gerald Nicklin, and we have to thank him for all of his wisdom and help in this off season. As you can see, I'm wearing a Bengals hat tonight. Decided I wanted to support the teams along our trip from Texas through Missouri and over here to Ohio, so I picked up a Kansas City hat on the way through, a Chicago Bears hat, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Haven't been able to find a Colts hat that I like yet. So if you happen to have one and you're in the Indiana area and you would like to send one to us, let us know. We'll give you our address and we'll wear your hat on the show in the upcoming weeks. But the truth is, what I'm going to start using this show for is to put out my prediction for Thursday Night Football. And I was going to keep it real subtle to see if anybody caught it, but now I'm blabbing too much about it. So in the next coming weeks on Thursdays, I will be wearing the hat of whoever I think is going to win that Thursday night game when we're finishing up the week on Wednesday night. So Bengals aren't playing Thursday night this week. It's going to be the Texans versus New England. And with all of the injuries happening with New England, I really believe, and the Texans' defense is really starting to show out. I really think the Texans could take this one. So I'm going to go with the Texans this week, and we'll see if that holds up. I do talk a lot. Thanks, Jason. I think that was it. Going to kind of keep the show a little short tonight because we are so remotely and you all are staring up my nose. I'll open it up for Q&A, see if anybody has any questions about the FSA itself, anything that's happened in the league so far, anything that might be going on in the NFL you might want to hear my crazy opinion about. Texans defense shut out. Jason, you got Texans defense going this week as well? It's funny for all of you that don't know how I do this. I actually have my computer sitting right here. Wow, this is looking even more creepy and creepy. I have the computer sitting right here. Oh, can you see it? Yeah. Now we can see ourselves. Cool. I have the computer sitting there. That way I can see what's going on, and there's such a delay in between what's actually happening with me and what you all are seeing out there. Kind of makes it weird. Is Zeke going to catch up or bust? I thought he was a bust from the very beginning. I thought all of these fantasy football magazines that had him ranked as a first-round pick, or at least in a top or one or first or second round draft pick for an unproven rookie, especially somebody coming out of Ohio State and going to the Cowboys of all places. Love to the Cowboys, but I don't think, everybody complains about the Browns organization having poor leadership. I don't think the Cowboys are much better, in my opinion. So anybody who gets drafted to the Cowboys, anybody gets drafted to the Cleveland, I got to think that for me on the outside, I would feel the same way if I was going to the Cowboys as if I was going to Cleveland. So I don't think Zeke is ever going to get it. If you really, Mondo, tell me the last Big Ten running back that did anything in the NFL. For that matter, the last time a Big Ten quarterback stayed in the quarterback position and did anything in the NFL. And I'll give you a couple minutes to think about it, because it'll be really hard for you to come up with anybody. Well, I'll tell you who the last Big Ten quarterback that did anything is Tom Brady, coming out of Michigan. Eddie George, absolutely Jason's last good one that actually came out of Ohio State. Yep, there you go, both of you. And think about how many years that's been. I'm assuming the hey babe is from my wife. I hope. Eddie George, he did finish up his career with the Cowboys, didn't he? I completely forgot about that. He played so many years with the were they still the Oilers in Tennessee when he came out? Before they changed to the Titans? It's been that many years, if you really think about it. But yeah, and then the last good quarterback that actually stayed in the quarterback position did anything was Tom Brady, and he was drafted in the 6th round, I think, or something like that. Wasn't expected to do much in the pros. So if you really look around the NFL, say 5 years ago, maybe not so much recently, but 5 years ago, the majority of your starting quarterbacks around the league all came out of the Mid-Atlantic Conference, the MAC, if you really look around. Very surprising. If you want to go back to, I think, just after Elway retiring, more than 50% of the starting quarterbacks were out of the MAC too. So it could be a rookie year thing. No, I don't believe that. If you look at Kevin Swantek isn't playing with us this year, but Swanee has been one of those guys that's been a regular in FSA for years. Yeah, agreed. Seen players are coming from deeper in the draft. Agreed. Your first, second, third round players just aren't doing it for you anymore. It's your guys that are coming in the later rounds. But going back to what I was saying, Kevin Swantek has been an off and on player with us for years. I'd say probably going back 15 years or so. He had this knack of being able to pull whoever the rookie running back was, regardless of what conference it came out of or whatever, was going into the NFL. Always seemed to get the perfect guy in the draft. There were some people that were not having what you would consider, rookie jitters or anything like that. There were legit players out there. I never thought Zeke was one of those guys. I really do believe that wide receivers have a sophomore slump in the NFL. So if you're looking at a wide receiver in their second year, usually they're not. They don't do all that well. Usually good rookie seasons, if they play rookie seasons, definitely come out and show their own in their third year. Things to think about for next year's draft, I guess. I'm probably the wrong guy to be saying all of this coming from a 2-11 season last year, but I am 1-1. So I have won 50% of the same amount of games that I won all of last year, and we're only played 2 weeks so far. So I'm not doing so bad. So any other questions? I saw Guajardo joined. I don't know if he stayed on or not. Will CFL and NFL merge? That's interesting. I did not get to finish last year's graphic project that we started working on. It's because he missed camp due to injury, but who knows? That could be. But I mean, if you're already missing camp due to injury, it's never good for possible re-injury. Adrian Peterson probably would be the best example of that. I think Father Time has finally caught up with him. I don't know how well he's going to bounce back from this one. He did, he all surprised us a couple years ago when he bounced back from the last injury, though, and had a career year. So who knows? Maybe USFL, another good one too. But anyway, and both of those leagues come up in the graphic project. So for those that weren't around last year that didn't get to see it, now that we're talking about it, maybe I'll start bringing that back this year. We did a graphics project starting last year where we were expanding the NFL to 40 teams. And we brought a lot of former CFL teams, USFL, XFL. Pretty sure we had one from the most recent. What was that one that, was it the UFL, something like that? We put a lot of those old defunct teams and brought them back, and then rebranded a lot of the current NFL teams. And we were redesigning the divisions and the conferences that were out there to make them make a little bit more sense graphically, kind of like we do with FSA. It was a fun project to work on, to rebrand all of those, and I do have them all on the computer. I'm not sure if they ever got transferred over to the new business computer or not, so that might be something that has to wait until I get back to Texas before we release that again. But Jason, I'll have you remind me on all of the shows leading up to it to bring that graphic project back, because that was a lot of fun to work on. The world needs to see it since we put so much time into it. Any other things you guys want to talk about? I appreciate tonight, you guys keeping us going long. We're sitting at 16 minutes and almost 17 minutes. That's pretty cool. What U.S. city has a Grey Cup and a Lombardi trophy? It's got to be one of those CFL teams that played in the United States. God, I'm trying to go back and think of the CFL teams and how far back. Baltimore? That doesn't sound right. Think about that. It's not San Antonio. That would be the first thought that I would have from the Grey Cup, because they used to have the Rough Riders. Oh, you give me a thumbs up. It really is Baltimore? Wow. I pulled that one out of my butt. What was the name of the CFL team that was there? What was the name of the team? Unless you're just reacting to me saying Baltimore. What was the name of the Grey Cup team? We know it would have been the